September 8th. And the way that bacteria become resistant to antibiotics is through natural selection. I will read it, then shut up. Natural selection, the basics. All populations have natural variation. We talked about what a population was yesterday. The environment presents challenges to survival and reproduction. Individuals tend to produce more offspring than will survive, but individuals with mutations or features that have some advantage for survival tend to pass on more of their genes. That's my little bacterial friend, and it's a single cell, you remember? And bacteria are interesting. They are really simple. Remember, they are a prokaryote, a primitive cell, primitive life form. And they have a little bit of DNA. So I drew the DNA in purple. That's the stuff that tells their cell how to make more cell. It tells their cell how to survive. It basically allows their cell to function. It's all their genetic information. They have a cell membrane, which I did in blue. They have some little tiny things called ribosomes. Those are going to become important later. They make protein with those. And bacteria have something else that you and I don't have. What's that red thing? It's a cell wall. Bacteria actually get an extra layer of protection. Prokaryotes have a cell wall. Okay. And that cell wall is made of protein. Think about it like a suit of bacon. Ew. I know, that is disgusting, isn't it? But it's largely made of proteins that are manufactured in the cell. And we'll talk more about how those proteins are manufactured. Proteins are manufactured in the ribosomes. So there's our little bacteria. Yay! Bacteria are never alone. There's always more than one. So we would have an entire population of this species of bacteria living wherever it is that they're living. So I'm going to draw a whole bunch of them. La la la. This is why I like Doceri, because I can just say paste, and there they go. And I have a whole population of bacteria. And here's the funny thing. That DNA, when it gets copied, and those bacteria make copies of themselves. Let me get rid of my words here. That DNA, every now and then, there's a mistake in copying, called a mutation. And those mutations mean that sometimes one of these bacteria is actually a little bit different than all of the rest of them. And this happens pretty often. All species, everything ends up with mutations. It can happen. Maybe, you know, somebody has a slightly wigglier cell membrane. Well, that doesn't really make sense. But okay, cell wall mutations in bacteria are fairly common. So maybe one bacteria has a slightly different cell wall. Maybe it's a different thickness. Maybe the protein composition is actually slightly different. We don't know what the differences are, but every now and then it happens that a bacteria is just a little bit different than all of the rest. So then if we imagine this whole little flock of them forming a population, we might have a couple that are just a little bit different than everybody else, and that's fine. Different is good. I talk about that a lot in here, the difference between usual and ordinary. Whoops, I left part of my bacterial cell there behind. There. Okay. So we get this little population with a few key differences. Let's explore that more. Every population has natural variation. I'm going to read this, then I'll shut up. All populations have natural variation. Variation can happen as a result of mistakes in copying DNA mutations. Some mutations have no effect on an organism. Some mutations have a negative effect on an organism, sometimes fatal. Some mutations have a positive effect on an organism, bigger, better, stronger, faster. In bacteria, variations can include differences in the thickness of the cell wall, differences in the chemical makeup of the cell wall, differences in the speed of reproduction, and differences in how well bacteria hide from their attackers. Recording. So we've got our population of bacteria, some with a slightly different chemical composition to their cell wall, some with a slightly thicker cell wall, and I've represented that with a little difference in their DNA. And the ones who have a thicker cell wall I'll represent with some other little bit of difference in their DNA. So just one little gene, and remember, we briefly talked about this. We'll talk a whole lot more about it before the year is out. A gene is just a little section of DNA. So just one little tiny section of DNA got copied wrong. Not a big deal. But it wasn't fatal. It actually, in some cases it changed, in these cases that we're showing, it changed the cell wall. Huh, okay. So populations all have variation. Look at us. We are not all identical. Go out and look at a bunch of earthworms. They all look identical to you, but there are subtle variations. Go out and look at a population of ladybugs. There are subtle variations. In the spring, we typically go to the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh, and they have, I like bugs. My name is Moser. I like bugs. See, my daughter has had the unique experience growing up. She's almost 5. And where other kids have learned, oh, it's a bug. Anytime anybody sees a bug, my daughter goes, oh, get my mom. She'll identify it. So we look at bugs a lot. At the Carnegie, they did this thing. They have massive collections that never get seen. They decided to display some of those collections, and some of them are insect collections, and there's one of insects of western Pennsylvania, and they've got an entire wall of specimens of the same species. And what's so cool is, like, we think one ladybug looks like another, and when you look at 100 of them, there are variations that you and I can see. I mean, yeah, they're all, shades of red, they all have spots, and there are also different species of ladybugs. But anyway, there are variations. All populations have variation. This is a good thing. This is a great thing. So I like to sum up that first point, all populations have variation, as everyone is a little different. This goes for humans, this goes for bacteria, this goes for ladybugs, maple trees, blue whales, wood rats, chipmunks, you name it. Any species you look at, any population you look at, every individual is just a little different from every other individual. That's a good thing. Everyone's just a little bit different. Well, why does that matter? Why indeed, you say? Second point. The environment presents challenges to survival and reproduction. I'll read it, then I'll shut up. For bacteria, these can include drying out. It's a challenge to homeostasis. They got to stay wet. Getting too hot or cold. They must maintain correct temperature in order to keep functioning, reproduce, and stay alive. Being attacked by the body of a host. Being attacked by larger organisms around them. Or being killed by chemicals in their environment. Aha! Antibiotics. I always like summing up the points of natural selection in sort of everyday language. Everyone's a little different. Life is tough. This is true for all living things. All living things face challenges to their survival. Now, the humans in this room are living at a really wonderful, interesting, and unique point in time and space. Was anyone here chased by a large carnivorous animal intent on eating them on their way to school this morning? Okay, didn't think so. For the most part, in the Western world, we have it relatively easy. Has anyone in the last week had to chase and kill all of the food that they ate? Or dig it out of the woods all by themselves and carry it back to their dwelling? Okay. For the most part, other people are doing that for us. We can go to grocery stores, we can go to Big Lots, we can go to Aldi's, we can go to Walmart, we can get the food that we need. We are not pursued by large animals on a daily basis. Life is relatively easy in a lot of ways. If you get an infection, you can take an antibiotic for now. A lot of things are manageable health conditions that at one time killed us pretty instantly. Life is pretty easy for us. But in general, for living things, life is tough. Life is tough. Think about rabbits for a minute. This is one of my favorite examples. I raised rabbits in 4-H as a kid. I like rabbits. I kind of have a soft spot for them. You bottle feed enough baby bunnies, you get a soft spot for them. I walk my dog every morning, and there are a ton of rabbits in my neighborhood. If you are a rabbit, just about everything that you encounter wants to kill you. Coyotes, dogs, hawks, snakes will eat baby bunnies. My cat, as a kid, one day, in one single day, cleaned out an entire nest full of baby rabbits. She brought in one dead baby bunny after another, and she finished up the day by bringing in the mother. Ugh. Rabbits have it rough. Everything wants to kill them. They are in permanent alert status. Well, guess what? Same is true for bacteria. Same is true for a lot of living things. Life is a constant struggle to survive. Life is tough. So for bacteria, you people who do things like salt your cutting board, how evil. You're killing the innocent bacteria on your cutting board by desiccating them. Good. Do it. Salt the cutting board. You're cooking your hamburger to 160 degrees. You evildoer. Ouch. You are killing the innocent bacteria present in your hamburger. Good. Do it. Being attacked by the body of a host. Now, you have no control over that. We're being introduced to bacterial pathogens every single day. Pathogens are things that can make you sick. Your immune system, without you having to go, get them, just does it. That's cool. Bacteria are also attacked by larger organisms around them. In that pond out there, the beautiful algae-filled pond that we have for retention of stormwater. You can bet that there are bacterial colonies, bacterial populations in that water, and that there are larger things that are attempting to eat them. Now, those larger things are still microscopic, but they're vicious predators of bacteria. And on top of all that, if all that wasn't bad enough, we have the audacity to intentionally put poisonous chemicals into our bodies that will kill bacteria. Good, when it's appropriate. Antibiotics. They are designed to kill bacteria. They are a challenge to the survival of bacteria. We want to challenge their survival. We don't want dangerous bacteria harming us. So I want to reintroduce my little bacterial population. Aw, they're so cute. Everybody's a little different. They're all a little different. They're not all identical. Do all of you meet challenges the same way? Who are my runners here? Okay, cross country, track, good. So, you know the joke about two guys being chased by a grizzly bear, right?
No.
Oh, two guys are out in the woods and suddenly an angry mama grizzly bear pops out from behind a rock and decides to chase them. And as they're running, one guy says to the other, I can't run faster than a grizzly bear. And the other guy says, neither can you, but I don't have to. The first guy says, what? And he says, I only have to run faster than you. Let it sink in. Go on. You get it? The slower human will be eaten by the grizzly bear. You don't have to run faster than the grizzly bear. You only have to run faster than the other guy. Okay, so do we all face challenges the same way? My runners. If it's you and me and a grizzly bear, I'm food. Not particularly fast. So, if that's the challenge, something chasing me down to eat me, versus one of our, I don't know if you're track stars or not, I'm just going to call you that, one of our track stars, I can't meet that challenge. I will be consumed by the grizzly bear. I will be in the grizzly bear's poop shortly. Other challenges, we meet them differently. We have different abilities. Everybody's a little different. We have different abilities. We have different aptitudes. For these bacteria, they're all a little bit different. The same chemical, let's see, what color should I use to represent the chemical? Ooh, let's get a nice orange. The same chemical spreading through the environment that manages to kill all of these guys may not affect all of these bacteria the same way. Why? They're all different. So tomorrow we'll pick up on this idea. No, not tomorrow. Good heavens. No, tomorrow you're going to sleep in, do whatever else you need to, relax, rest up. Monday we're going to pick up on this idea as we finish the 4 points of natural selection. But here's what I want you to do in the meantime. I'm going to show you a brief video, and I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about it. It's a video we're actually going to watch 3 times. Today will be the first. Weird. Then I want you to get out the vocabulary sheets. I want you to fill in any words that you feel like we've covered today and you understand better today. And then what do you think there is? 3-question recall quiz. It's on Classroom. So right now, I'm going to show you the video, then you're going to get out the vocab sheets, and then you'll do the little quiz.